Good evening. How's it going, buddy?
Good, doing all right, bud. Doing all right yourself.
Not too bad. I always forget to remove that damn overlay when I play the videos. So
Hey, you know, you
you got this thing down to a science. I do not.
it's all
So
right, bud. It's all right. You're on like night two, bud. Night
yeah,
two.
yeah, we're figuring it out. I guess figuring it out on the fly.
Yep.
Anyway, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing
How's
good here.
Omaha?
Doing good. Doing good here at my aunt and uncle's house for the night, and then going home tomorrow to see the family for a good solid week. So he's a big Northwest Missouri State fan, alum, and
Okay,
Cubs fan, and obviously a Husker fan. So maybe throughout the episode, I'll kind of walk around, and so he's
there you
got a
go.
bunch of memorabilia all throughout the house here. So doing
Yeah,
good.
man, we need that Tom Osborne memorabilia.
Man, relive the glory days, right?
Yeah, right. Run the wing tee. We'll run the wing tee real quick.
There we go. There we go.
Anyway, welcome those that are watching. This is episode 10 of Tailgate Trash Talk. This week we're going to talk a little bit of Week 11 review. We'll preview the top 25 for Week 12. We'll give you our playoff prediction or our playoff standings, and then talk about the Heisman. We'll do a little salute to service tonight, and we got a couple of sponsors that we'll hear from as well. But let's go ahead and get started. I'll bring up Week 11 here. Stove. We started off on Thursday night with what turned out to be a pretty good game. It didn't start out that way. Pittsburgh was out early, but then things kind of slowed down for them. Bit of a sloppy game here. I thought the offenses really struggled. Not something I expected to see. I think we both predicted quite a high-scoring game last week. Pittsburgh ended up pulling it out in overtime, though. Kenny Pickett looked really good early, not so much in the middle of the game, but then picked it up late, led his team to the game to a game-winning score there. I think solidifying his standing in the Heisman voting. What are your thoughts on this game here, Stowe?
We both picked Pittsburgh last week, and that first quarter, you and I were texting back and forth, and it looked like Pittsburgh was just going to run away with it.
Yeah.
North Carolina did not come to play. You said the word sloppy, and that's exactly what it was. It was sloppy on both sides of the ball for both teams. Now, granted, it was raining there, so they did have to play, and at times it almost looked like a downpour. But if you would have told me at the beginning of the game that North Carolina was going to come back and tie the game up, and then Pittsburgh would win it in overtime, I would have laughed at you. Give credit to North Carolina there for putting something together, tying the ball game up. But ultimately, Pittsburgh and Pickett prevailing with the W to kind of keep, their slim possibility of a playoff hope alive. But I think more so they're playing for maybe a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah.
But something that is on everyone's agenda as well. Kenny Pickett for Heisman. If they would have lost that game, I would have said he's probably out of the Heisman contention. But him winning that game and kind of coming back there towards the end of the ball game and in overtime, I think kept him in the running there for Heisman.
Yeah, middle of that game, I started to worry a little bit. I think North Carolina is going to kick themselves in a few of these games that they've started so damn slowly. This couple times this year they've come back late. They were able to knock Wake Forest off, with a big comeback, but they couldn't finish the deed against Pittsburgh. So they're going to look back on this season, and I think the first halves of games are really going to haunt them.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Moving on to Cincinnati, South Florida. We talked about needing style points in this one. They end up winning 45-28. They didn't cover the initial spread. And to be completely honest, about halfway through this game, I was telling myself, like, this is the Cincinnati we need if they're going to get in the playoff, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be asserting themselves. They seem to be putting, stepping on the necks of South Florida. And then we see South Florida start to make it interesting late. It's a 10-point game at one point. South Florida's got the ball. They're, moving it. And, they stall out on that drive, and then since he gets a really weird touchdown late where the running back makes a great move and makes another guy miss, but without that, this is a 10-point game against a really bad South Florida team. So I'm still not buying that the committee's going to put a lot of weight, they're not going to give them a lot of credit for this win. You think they will?
No, I'm with you. We've been saying it for about 4 or 5 weeks now, ever since the Notre Dame game. Style points. And early on, yeah, it looked like they were going to cover their spread. It looked like this was, and you said it, this looked like the Cincinnati team that we've been saying that needed to be showing up and winning ball games, these types of ball games, by what the spread is, and even more so. But no, I mean, giving up 28 points to a South Florida team, a 2-7 team, I think they are. 2-8 now. They definitely didn't get style points.
I will say this, right? That Notre Dame win continues to look better.
It does.
And it's not just Notre Dame continuing to win, but it's now we see Wisconsin, who Notre Dame also beat, is bullying people. So Notre Dame's strength of schedule continues to improve. So that win looks better as the weeks go on. But you can't, like, if that Notre Dame win came this week or next week and it was closer to the end of the season, there's a lot of weight there in a recency for the committee. We're 5 weeks away from that win now, and they haven't looked great in these games. So I think despite the weight that Notre Dame win should carry for a Cincinnati, I don't know that the committee is going to be able to look past the fact that they're just getting by some of these really bad teams.
No, I agree with you.
All right. Alabama, New Mexico State, yawn. They covered. We talked about that number being huge. They covered. Bama looked the part against a New Mexico State team that really doesn't belong on the field with them. Tune-up week.
Yep.
Big game here. We were chatting quite a bit about this game. It looked like Michigan was about to let another one get away. The Harbaugh era is pockmarked with these games that they let get away. We saw it against Michigan State. Now, Michigan State's a good team, but that's a game that they shouldn't have let get away. Yep. And now they're playing for their playoff lives every single week. They've got to win out or they've got no chance. And they almost let this one get away. Penn State took a lead late. Fighting Franklins. I guess he remembered who they were playing this week.
Yeah.
And they took a lead late. And I in the chat said they're not going to respond because that's what Michigan does, right? They're not going to answer back. And they fucking did, right? So I got to give credit. Harbaugh and his boys rallied the troops, and Michigan came back and won that game. That's a big win for them on the road at Penn State, a Penn State team that was ranked as high as 3 at one point this year.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a win that helps Michigan's resume. Now, they still have to win out, right? That doesn't give them any buffer room, but that's a big statement to come back and win that game for Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. And it gives testament to maybe Harbaugh and company have figured things out, because you alluded to it earlier. This is where we see Michigan fall apart, lose those games. And this year, aside from the Michigan State game, they've actually been able to come back and secure those wins that they should get, late in the ball game. And with this one, they had a late touchdown catch in the late fourth quarter there that solidified the win. And that gives testament to Harbaugh and company there as well, where their offense, put a drive together and went down the field and got that touchdown to go ahead. But yeah, I mean, it pains me to give credit to Harbaugh. And
I know it does.
It really does. I hate it. I was pulling for the Fighting Franklins. Oh man, I was pumped in our group message, and then Harbaugh just basically gave me the big old bird and said "F you," not doing it.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
but yeah, but like you said, they are fighting every week
Yep.
for their playoff lives.
Yep, absolutely. All right, another game we highlighted. This was a ranked matchup, number 8 versus number 13. I didn't buy it. You picked Baylor, right?
No, I think we both picked Oklahoma.
Okay, I think we went
on
back
this.
and forth a little bit.
Yeah, we did. We were hoping that Baylor would.
Yeah, true.
You especially with your Caleb Williams and the Heisman Stock Report last week.
I jinxed them.
And and I'm just gonna say this, before we even get to the Heisman Stock Report, I think you in general are a Heisman Stock jinx, because anyone that you kind of put in that top 5 and even into the top 1 spot, aside from Bryce Young so far, so he might have a trip up here. They've had shitty games to where they either get knocked out of the Heisman Stock Report from you, or they just drop down the line. And you put Caleb Williams in here, and what does he do?
He shit down his leg.
He gets benched for Spencer
Yeah.
Rattler, who, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a damn boat and get the team motivated and everything else, So, but no, to be honest with you, I was happy to see this game. I was happy to see Baylor win, upset Oklahoma here, because really, Oklahoma has not looked the part all season long. Even with Caleb Williams back there, yes, he gave them a spark when they needed it and when they needed it the most, but they have not looked the part all season long. And it finally just took a Baylor team who was coming off a bad TCU loss, to get it done. But Baylor's a good football program this year. They got it going in the right direction. Good victory for Baylor here. Was happy to see this.
Yeah, my hatred of Oklahoma, and this is one I have to tip my cap. I know we talked about it the initial week, the initial rankings that were released by the committee. The committee got Oklahoma right all along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I have put Oklahoma in the top 4 over the last couple of weeks because I was trying to project ahead. Right. If Oklahoma was to win out in the week Big 12, I thought the committee was going to find a way to get them into the top 4 at the end of the season. So I was projecting a little bit with that, but I have to say the committee, they stayed true to them, their stance that they're picking the teams at that moment that are in those spots, and they've had Oklahoma at 8 right along, and they got it right, and I have to give credit where credit's due because I love busting their chops about everything else. So I have to be at least a little bit fair and sort of unbiased, and give them credit for that.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Moving on. Mississippi State, Auburn. Mississippi State, they look like they just dogged Auburn. You said it about in the third quarter. Auburn just looked tired. And I think that's what happened. The big bodies of Mississippi State started to wear on Auburn, and they just ran out of gas because they, 27 unanswered or something like that at one point.
Yeah, something like that. And it was, man, you didn't see it coming.
From a Mississippi State team whose calling card is not offense.
Yeah.
And Dan Mullen's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those teams too where it all depends on who you're getting that week too. Like you don't know which team you're going to get, and early on it looked like it was a team that just showed up to play, didn't prepare or anything, and then all of a sudden, whoop. Yeah, Auburn's nowhere to be found, and Mississippi State is just piling it on and not taking that foot off the gas pedal. So,
they put it on them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of putting it on them, Wisconsin ran for like 7,000 yards in this game against Northwestern en route to a 35-7 win that wasn't even that close. They bullied Northwestern and bullied them good. Like they were just the big brother who, hey, Dad, they were the big brother who was just beating up on their little brother in the alley as they're trying to play some football. So, man, Wisconsin looks like the team we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. They're starting to run the ball with purpose, and they're just telling you, hey, we're gonna run it. Stop us.
Try to stop us, exactly. Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy. All right. Utah, Arizona. I don't know that there's a lot to this game. Utah struggled a bit with Arizona, which was surprising, but late they ended up winning by a couple of scores. Probably expected this game to be more of a handful of score game. Arizona showed some fight though.
Yeah, definitely a lot closer than I think both of us anticipated and a lot of people anticipated. Arizona being kind of, one of those teams where, they're kind of like the
doormat
NFL.
of the Pac-12.
Yeah, and the Jets of the NFL over there. So I mean, give Arizona credit. I mean, they won last week. They definitely put up some points this week. And so, I mean, that might be an encouraging sign for Arizona and the coaching staff there, that they may be heading in the right direction offensively and putting up some points. But, yeah, a lot closer than I think both of us anticipated. But nonetheless, Utah got the dub.
Yeah. And then Georgia, Tennessee. Not a lot to see here. A little surprised how big of a score this got, but Vegas had this number pretty big. We talked a little bit about how it felt big last week, but Vegas was right. Georgia by 24 against the Tennessee team that just played Bama tough and has been trending in the right direction. Georgia, I think we're at the point now, we've been alluding to it throughout the season, but I think we're at the point now where it's like it's Georgia
and everyone
and
else.
everybody else.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like because they just keep piling on every single opponent that gets put in front of them week in and week out. And it's not like they're in the ACC or they're in the MAC. They're in the SEC just pounding people into dust.
Yeah.
Crazy. They're talking about that defensive tackle, and now his name eludes me. I was reading the article about him. And they're talking about him getting some Heisman hype as well. So we might start to hear his name down the stretch as much of a difference maker as he is on that defense.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Ryan, going to your comment here, and luckily it's our next game.
Yeah.
The spoiler makers, they just didn't show up.
Not
they didn't show up. And, we saw it the week after they beat Iowa. They didn't show up the next week.
Hangover.
They got that top 5, they got that top 10, top 5 victory hangover, and it showed here again. Unfortunately, they didn't play the spoiler maker that I was anticipating. I think a lot of people kind of gave them, I think a lot of people could have we're going 50-50 on this, and a lot of people were giving Purdue credit, with the games that they have won against those top opponents. And, I was on board with it. I thought that was a trip-up game. And I thought the trip-up game for Ohio State was 2 weeks ago, too, against Nebraska. Nebraska gave them a run for it, lost by, single digits. I thought Purdue, with their track record so far this year, beating Iowa and beating, someone, I can't remember who their other opponent was that they won. But yeah, I was on board with the spoiler makers here.
Yeah, Ryan, I think we had a little video delay, or we had a delay getting to it, or maybe both. But yeah. So this was a game. Purdue, they made it respectable down the stretch. It ended up 12 points, I believe it was, and we see Ohio State. They're doing what we've seen them do in the past, right? Where they've had these seasons where they'll drop a game early or they'll struggle in a few games early, and then down the stretch they just find a way to turn it on and start hanging 50 on really good teams to get themselves in position for the playoff, and that's what we're seeing again from them this year. That offense is clicking. The defense struggled a bit against Purdue, but Purdue's put some points on some good teams. So hats off Ohio State. They're really starting to come into their own here down the stretch.
Yep.
Minnesota, Iowa. This was pretty close. I think we expected it to be pretty close, but Iowa, I believe I picked Minnesota to row the boat and get
you picked
win.
Minnesota to row the boat, and I was not
And,
going against. I was not going with the PJ Fleck to row the boat. So the good team won on this one, and when I'm saying good team, like I'm nowhere near an Iowa fan whatsoever, because that ball game against Nebraska is coming up next Friday.
Go Big Red.
Yeah. So yeah, have your moment here, Iowa, and let's just move on.
And the Roadrunners.
Roadrunners, baby.
The Roadrunners. Number 23 in the nation. Number 1 in your hearts. The UTSA Roadrunners get the win over Southern Miss by 10 points. 27-17 here. You know, I think we're going to see UTSA run the table, and they might get into a respectable bowl. They're probably not going to get into a New Year's Six bowl unless some weird things happen. But, you know, if Cincy drops a game or something like that. But, you know, UTSA, they are having an historic season for that program. Yep. You know, they've put some talent in the NFL in the past, not a ton, but a little bit, but they've never had a season like this. We talked about it about 4 weeks ago. Never been ranked before. And now in the AP poll, they've been ranked for about a month straight. CFP's had them in the last couple of weeks. Roadrunners, man, they look like they're for real, that they're going to be able to run the table here and might be able to sneak into a pretty good bowl.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Michigan State, Maryland, a little bit of a bounce back game here for Michigan State after the unfortunate loss. You know, this is a game that they should win, you know, by 3 scores 3 scores here. Michigan State should hang that on Maryland if they've got any thoughts of getting back into the playoff picture here.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. A game where they should have won and should have won big, and they did. So, yeah.
Ole Miss, Texas Tech. Ole Miss here, you know, they get a solid win against a solid opponent over number 11. Yeah, 11, Texas A&M. Matt Corral looks pretty good. That defense actually looked really good this week, which is a surprise for Ole Miss.
They did, yeah. They were tackling. It was kind of a shock.
Yeah. Go figure. Fundamentals, right?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's Texas A&M. They get that victory over Alabama earlier in the season, and then from there, it's kind of an up and down. You know, week in, week out. A lot of speculation with Jimbo Fisher becoming the next LSU head coach, because the AD that's over at LSU now, who was at A&M, who brought Jimbo Fisher over there. He's came out and said week in, week out, and he's basically, aside from saying I am not going, you know, he's basically said he's not going to LSU. A&M is his home. That's where his family is. He loves it there. I really don't think he is going. I believe him. And so, you know, they got the number as of right now. I think they have like a top 5 recruiting class coming in for next season. So why would you want to leave, you know, for LSU and then go and play your recruits that you just recruited, you know? But they got to get something figured out. I know, you know, beating Alabama has been the highlight of the season so far, but you know, you have a chance to make a statement in the SEC, you know, that it's not just Georgia and Alabama. You know, it could be Georgia, Alabama, A&M, or it could be A&M, Georgia.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Like, get your name, get your foot in the door. You know, you got your foot in the door there with that Alabama win, but keep it there. Open it up further and insert yourself with authority.
Yeah, for sure. They need to figure out the quarterback position. I think that's the biggest thing for them. They had 2 quarterbacks they've been trying to go back and forth to all year, and Calzada's been good, but he's had some down games.
Yeah.
I think they need to get the quarterback position figured out there, because they just don't seem to be able to make plays on offense in a sustained fashion.
Yeah, I think the quarterback that's injured is, I want to say, eligible to return maybe here in the next couple weeks or so. But then it's like, well, do you play him or not?
Yeah.
You know, could you redshirt him? Get that medical red shirt, bring him back. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something, to think about and look at here in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got to figure that quarterback position out. That's for sure. All right. Notre Dame, Virginia. Notre Dame goes into a tough Charlottesville environment against a decent Virginia team. They're not a team to scoff at, and hangs a pretty good beatdown on them, 28-3. As I mentioned a moment ago, that Notre Dame win for Cincy continues to get better each week. Cincy needs to hold up their end of the bargain, but Notre Dame keeps winning. Notre Dame's going to get themselves in the consideration, in the picture for the playoff if they continue to win these games, because one, they're a brand, they're a name. Obviously, the CFP is going to pay attention to Notre Dame. They want those dollars, especially. Yeah. But Notre Dame's win over Wisconsin, as Wisconsin continues to win games, starts to look better. So, Notre Dame takes care of business against Virginia, something they haven't done against some other teams here recently, winning some tight games, but they really hung it on Virginia.
Yeah, and I picked Virginia with the upset, and Notre Dame came in there and they basically said "screw you too," and took it to town. So give them credit for, like you said, going into a not an easy environment, and so they got the job done though. So they keep their playoff chances alive, and they won pretty convincingly.
Yeah, for sure. I think some coaches are hanging our material up on the bulletin board or something.
I think so too, buddy.
Getting guys motivated.
So yeah, as they should.
All right, NC State, Wake Forest. I picked the upset here. I think you picked Wake Forest, right?
I picked the Demon Deacons here.
Yeah.
You had the Wolfpack. This was a shootout. We said it. We said it was going to be a shootout. It was a shootout. And Wake Forest just kind of, snuck away there with a 3-point victory. And that NC State team, they're not bad. I know the ACC,
gritty, man.
Yeah, that ACC conference this year, it's down with, that they're not like they have been in the past with Clemson, being at the top there.
Yeah.
But when you have NC State, Wake Forest, I know North Carolina's down.
It's nice seeing some new names at the top of
the
conference, though.
It's nice.
Pittsburgh's up there ranked.
Yep. So it's, NC State, they're not a bad team. And this one was almost, this one you probably could have just flipped a coin, and picked one. But you went with NC State. I went with Wake Forest, and,
the good guys won.
Good guys won, yeah. Yep.
Arkansas, LSU. LSU continues to be a roller coaster of a team. One week it feels like they're playing hard for Coach O. The next week it feels like they're not doing anything. Let's see. I like it. This is a good time for this.
Yeah, very
perfectly timed question, Ronald. So talking about LSU and losing in overtime to a good Razorbacks team. Fighting. Some weeks they seem to be fighting for Coach O.
Yep.
It looked like it this week. They played some really good defense. We had the discussion a few weeks ago about who was gonna get the LSU job. I imagine your thoughts have changed on that. Obviously, with your belief that Jimbo's truly out on it. Who do you think's left for that job?
Well, so Ronald Stokes asked the question, who's going to get the LSU job? OU's coach already told reporters he was not going. So did he actually – so my question to this is, because I saw something similar here tonight, but it's kind of the same thing about Jimbo Fisher. He really didn't flat out say, no, I'm not taking the job. No, I'm not going. He basically just said, you guys know how I feel about this school, about this team, kind of leaving that where it is.
That sounds like a goodbye letter in some ways.
Yeah. Now, I did hear, I know he just signed an extension last year. I think through 2026 maybe, for $46 million.
Yeah, big
Lincoln Riley
buyout
did.
too.
Yeah. Now LSU, from what I have seen and just heard tonight, reportedly, LSU is in the neighborhood of 96 million. So then yeah,
That's a
96
lot
million.
of dip.
That's a John Gruden. That's a John
Yeah,
Gruden type contract right there.
96 is
So
nuts.
so do you go ahead? So and this is interesting. It really is, because if you stay at Oklahoma, you're going to the SEC. Do you go ahead and make the transition to the SEC with a new school, and get a leg up already in recruiting and everything else like that?
A school that recruits itself
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the SEC.
In the SEC,
In
Oklahoma,
Florida, especially. They've got a lot of footprint in Florida
yeah,
for LSU.
and possibly Texas as well
Yeah.
too. With it being right there. Man,
Yeah, that's a tough call, man.
It's a tough call.
It's tough to turn that money down too.
It very much so. But here's where I'm at with it. If he takes it, I'm not going to fault him either way. Okay, I'm not going to fault him if he takes it. I'm not going to fault him if he doesn't take it. If it were me, you landed the OU job because of Stoops,
Bob Stoops,
and how you were brought up within that program. He handpicked you and everything. You are beloved by that community, by that school. I think Lincoln Riley could have a couple down years, and still maintain his job.
Yeah.
Here at LSU, you're seeing it firsthand. They're 2 years removed from a national championship. Yes, and you can put the COVID year with LSU. You could put that out there, but I really don't count the COVID year because you had so many players opt out.
So you're really 1 year removed.
Yeah, you had so many players on that national championship team that went to the NFL. So basically, you lost a lot of coaches to NFL position coaches or some other schools as head coaches or better positions as coaches. And so really, you're 1 year removed, like you just said, and your coach got fired mid-season. And yes, they've been playing like dog shit. They're up and they're down. They're a 500 ball club basically.
If you're Lincoln Riley, how much do you? And yeah, Jamar Chase sat out last year, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good point. But
he was a top five pick for this year.
And he's probably offensive rookie of the year, maybe Mac Jones, but we can discuss on another day. But yeah, tune in Tuesdays. We usually talk about NFL. Anyway, so if you're Lincoln Riley, though, do you give any stock to the fact that some of the instability with Coach O is self-inflicted because of the way he handles himself? And do you then think that you would have a better shot at remaining stable within that program?
Yes. Yes, I do. But now,
I don't think you get the leash that you get with Oklahoma, though. I think you make a great point on that he's so beloved there. He's built a reputation. They've been in the CFP. They're going to the SEC. I think that school, the AD is going to understand that there's a certain transition period. Going from the Big 12 to the SEC it's two different worlds in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, and you look at it too, you're in the Big 12 right now. Who have you produced that has made it to the NFL? Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield,
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Yes, I mean you so many names. And at the time when you had Kyler Murray there, Kyler Murray was making more money than you were as a head coach
From the A's.
from the Oakland A's from when he got drafted.
And now you're making $46 million.
So, really, to me, I think the safe bet is staying at OU. I think high risk, high reward, obviously with LSU.
Yeah.
But
you could be king.
You could be.
You could be Oscar the Grouch too.
Yeah. I mean, tough decision for Lincoln Riley and family there.
So who's left for LSU then? Are they suddenly grasping at straws, trying to find their next head coach? Because I think 2 weeks ago, this felt like a destination job. Yeah. And now it's like, well, Franklin might be heading to USC, and Herb, it seems, is starting to turn the corner in the NFL. So maybe he survives into year 2. The Jags are playing a little better, so maybe Herb's not on the market. Suddenly LSU is looking around like, if we can't get Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma,
do you take his name's getting thrown around now for possibly USC. Do you take Baylor's head coach?
Yeah, you look there. I think you look at Luke Fickell, maybe, if you can coax him out of Cincy.
I mean, if you're throwing away $96 million to Luke Fickell, he might leave the state of Ohio. I mean,
he might sell you the state of Ohio.
Man, that's a great question now because, like you said, at when that job became available, it was, and it still is a top destination for a head coach.
Sure, it's still LSU, right?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of died down a little bit, especially because the big name that first started was Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher said no. He basically hasn't said no, but he has. Okay. Now Lincoln Riley. They've moved on to Lincoln Riley. So now you're basically going to be third pick, fourth pick, fifth pick, somewhere down the road. So then it's really, well, no, you didn't really like me. And okay, I heard numbers of upward close to 100 million with Jimbo Fisher and Lincoln Riley. You're only going to pay me 40 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? But I think that decision, and same with the USC job, they're going to have to make that decision quick, especially with the early signing period now. You have to for recruiting purposes.
Yeah, it's tough. The early signing thing is tough because
it is. Yeah,
you end up trying to change head coaches, and it really can screw you for 2-3 years trying to recover from a bad recruiting class.
Yeah.
All right. TCU Oklahoma State though. Oklahoma State put it on them. This is what Baylor should have done to TCU last week, but
exactly.
Oklahoma State fighting Gundies, big win there. Oregon, Washington State. They didn't bring in Mike Leach. They didn't pull off the upset. Damn you Huskies or Cougars. Yeah. Sorry, I had Washington on the brain, but damn you Cougars. I wanted to get you to knock off Oregon, but no such luck.
Nope.
Nevada, San Diego State. This got tight, and I believe this was a 3.5 point line from Vegas.
Yeah.
And Vegas again shows us all they've got the biggest dick in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe you went with Nevada in the
upset. I did
because it was double Wolfpack upset.
It was, yeah. We were riding the Wolfpack last week. Neither of them won.
No, it's all right, but good game nonetheless. And but San Diego State came out on top narrowly.
Yep, absolutely. Nevada had a shot. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. And you want to do the sponsor read-in?
Sure.
All right. Our first break here is brought to you by
Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881. PocketPairClub.com.
All right. Thanks to
that little break was brought to you by PocketPairClub.com. Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881.
Thanks to the folks at Pocket Pair Club.
Yes, and while we're on break, Ryan Trotnick, does anyone go from NFL coordinator down to college head coach, or is that a backward move? It's a great question. Gary, you want to give your 2 cents first?
We've seen it. I don't think it's super common. I think when you're in those coordinator positions, OC, DC, I think the next logical step is a head coach position in the NFL. We see position coaches from the NFL make the move to college. It's a weird thing with the NFL and college football that we don't see a lot of crossover both ways, right? Josh is out here with his wish list. Kellen Moore to LSU. He's getting a head coaching job in the NFL somewhere, I think.
Dang, don't be taking him away from my boys. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, so it is this weird kind of like Ghostbusters don't cross the streams thing with college and the NFL. Both places, it's like this good old boys club of you get recycled. If you've been a head coach, you're going to get a second chance in a lot of ways, unless you're a Detroit Lions head coach. That is the weirdest stat ever. Never has a Detroit Lions head coach been rehired as an NFL head coach. That's fucking wild to me. They've been around for a long time too. But anyway, it's just this weird thing. You don't see a lot of guys go back and forth, and like Saban made the jump but then came back, and Harbaugh made the jump and he was pretty successful, but then when he flamed out in San Fran, there wasn't a lot of talk about him getting a second head coaching job. And the whole talk was, well, Michigan's open. He belongs in college football. He had so much success there. His shtick works better in college. You get comfortable dealing with the type of player you deal with. College, you've got guys for 4 years, for 3 years. You've got the clout to say, I'm trying to get you to the NFL. Listen to me. It's my way or the highway in college. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. And that's why a lot of guys struggle to make that transition up. To make the transition down, I think the pro guys just don't like the grind of recruiting. Recruiting is a fucking mammoth beast, and it eats up so much of your bandwidth. It's a skill. It's a soft skill that not everybody has. So I just think that's the reason I can't off the top of my head think of any. I know we've had some NFL coordinators take college positions, but top of my head, I cannot think of any that have in recent memory. So I think it is seen as kind of a step backwards, because when you get to that coordinator position, the next logical step is to head coach in the NFL.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I can't think of anyone off the top of my head either. Other than maybe Urban here, but no, I agree. I think it's looked at, I think, from the sports world as a step backwards, and not a step forward or anything. So, but great question though, Ryan. Great question. And OJ, get that shit out of here with Kellen Moore to LSU. Cowboys just signed him to a 3-year deal. Come on now.
Yeah, right.
Needs to stay there.
All right. We're going to look ahead now to the top 25 preview for Week 12. So we've got Memphis, Houston. Not a huge game here. Houston sneaking into the top 25. 8.5 point favorite over Memphis. Memphis isn't the team that we've seen them be in the past. I think I'm going to lay the points here with Houston. I think they should handle Memphis pretty well.
I agree with you.
Houston by 10, maybe 13.
Yeah, totally agree.
San Diego State, UNLV shouldn't be much of a contest either. 10.5 points. UNLV is not a very good team. San Diego State, I think I'm laying the points in this one too. A couple tutties is probably what's going to separate these two teams.
Yeah, I'm on board with you so far there, big guy. So keep on running with it.
All right, buddy. We got Big Red. We got the Badgers. I've mentioned it, and I'll talk a little, and then I'm going to give the runway here to the Husker. Wisconsin, they're playing a lot of bully ball. I think if Nebraska can bow their necks and slow this running game down, I think they're going to be able to do some things against that Wisconsin defense. A dual threat quarterback gives them some trouble. I do think Wisconsin is going to pull this one out, but I think it's going to be very tight. Might see a last second field goal decide this thing. And I know that pains you because I'm talking about special teams, but give me Wisconsin in a very tight nip-tuck game. I think Nebraska's moving in the right direction, and I'm glad that they're going to keep Frost around.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment there. I could feel it was sincere from the heart from you, Gary. So I appreciate that. I'm 9.5 point favorite here for Wisconsin. I'm going to run with it here, and I'm just going to stay with my pick, and I'm going to go Nebraska outright. So here we go.
Let's go. Rev up them fucking diesels. Let's go. Huskers in an upset on the road in Madison.
I agree with you. I think it is going to be a close game. But I'm picking Skurs.
Let's go. Big Red.
Might as well, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, big GBR
energy.
There.
Big dick energy. Let's go.
GBR there, big bruh. Yeah,
bro. Go Big Red.
See all right. Tomorrow.
Excellent. Georgia, Charleston Southern doesn't have a line.
Why not? I think Charleston Southern has a real shot here.
They have a shot to be on the field.
Yes.
Yep. Georgia by 50 or 60. This is going to get disrespectful. Tune-up game late in the season. SEC teams, they have this propensity to do this.
Yeah. I'm going to go Georgia.
All right. Here's a big one. Ohio State and Michigan State. And look at that fucking line.
Yeah, 19.
19 points. If I'm the Spartans, man, I'm plastering that little snippet all over the locker room. I'm putting it on the scoreboard during practice. Like, that number is getting hung everywhere. That's fucking disrespectful. Or does it just mean that Ohio State's going in a different direction than Michigan State? I think it's disrespectful. I've got Michigan State beating that spread. Ohio State winning, but probably by a tutty. Not fucking 3 touchdowns. What about you, Stowe? Where are you at on this one?
3 tutties is a big number.
That's a big number for number 4.
I'm gonna go about 10 to 14 here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 2 scores, but not 3. I can't go 3.
Oof.
Yeah. I still got and it pains me to pick Ohio State again. But I'm going to pick Ohio State here.
I'm putting a visor on Kenneth Walker during practice and putting that number right inside that visor.
Right.
Just to get him fucking motivated this week.
That little bullseye right
holy shit, man.
Yeah.
19. Dude, I'm trying to get them guys revved up all week seeing that fucking number.
Yeah.
Woo, 19. Good Lord. Wake Forest is at Clemson, and they're a 4.5 point favorite as the season of doom continues. For Clemson.
Clemson is a 4.5 point favorite.
Oh, I read that wrong. You're right.
Yeah, no
Clemson
love
is a 4.5
at all.
point favorite.
No
love for Wake Forest. It's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, who you got?
Death Valley here. Death Valley. at home for Clemson, a chance to upset a ranked opponent, and you are unranked. I'm going the Demon Deacons. I I know that Clemson defense is tough, but that offense has still not showed much of anything all season. I think the Deacons get it done here.
Yeah. I worry a bit about the Clemson run game because that's about all DJ can do right now.
Yeah,
And I worry they're going to be able to run the ball really well against Wake Forest. I actually thought I was going to be picking Clemson in an upset. I read that number completely backwards. But I am going to go with Clemson in this one because I worry about that Wake Forest defense, man. All season long, Wake Forest has just been treating defense like it's an option. So
yeah.
I think we're going to see Clemson get a bit on the scoreboard this week, maybe a high 30s game, and pull this one out.
All right.
I don't know that I'm laying the points though. Give me Clemson by 2 or 3.
Okay.
I don't love that I just made that pick, but
Hey.
I worry about Wake Forest defense, man. They're just so bad on defense.
Yeah.
All right, Oklahoma, Iowa State. Oklahoma 3.5-point favorite here against an Iowa State team that dropped a game last week that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma dropped a game that they probably shouldn't have, but Baylor's a good team. Do you see Oklahoma bouncing back this week?
I do. I think some fires have probably got lit under some asses this week, and one of them being Caleb Williams here. So, yeah, I think Oklahoma has a bounce back week, and I'll actually take Oklahoma maybe by, let's say, 10.
Yeah, I think 10's a good number. I think I'd go as high as 14. Oklahoma to bounce back. Iowa State's been so up and down this year, more down than up. Yeah, give me Oklahoma bouncing back a little bit by a couple of scores.
Yeah.
A&M Prairie View, another game without a line, another tune-up game in the SEC. A&M should roll by a bucket full.
Oh, yeah.
Mississippi State, same thing here, coming off a big upset of Auburn. They better not struggle against Tennessee State. No number in this one either. Mississippi State should roll by 40 or so.
Sure.
Iowa, Illinois, 12.5 points for Iowa. Illinois coach is still telling his players that they suck.
And he's out with COVID this week, so yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have to tell them they suck from home.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Iowa's gonna roll comfortably. I don't think 12.5 is enough. Give me 3.
I think this one's gonna be kind of more of the three score.
Yeah, I'm with you. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. Notre Dame's a 3-score favorite here, laying 17 points. It's probably the right number, in my opinion. 17 to 20, I think, is the number. Notre Dame should roll pretty comfortably at home.
Yep.
Bama, Arkansas. We have professed our love for the Razorbacks all season. This is going to be their toughest game of the year, playing Alabama at Alabama. Their toughest game here down the stretch. Playing Alabama at Alabama. Bama's a 21-point favorite. I feel like that might be a little too much. Give me Bama, but only by 2 scores, maybe 13.
It all kind of depends on which Arkansas team comes to play.
Yeah.
If it's a team that showed up against Texas, showed up last week, got the job done, then yeah, I think that spreads a little too much. But yeah, I got Alabama in this. I'll take, man, I'm going to say by 17.
17?
Yeah, I was going to go with the spread there. But I think that 21 might just be a little too much, so I'm going to go 17.
All right. Cincinnati against SMU, 8-2 SMU. They were ranked not too long ago. Cincinnati's an 11.5-point favorite. They fucking better, right? It's time to turn this thing on. I don't have a lot of confidence in it though. Give me Cincy, but probably by 8. I'm
gonna take the underdog here. I'm going SMU, buddy.
You're going SMU.
Yep, I'm going smooth. This is the week that Cincinnati gets bit in the ass, and
Man, I
their
fucking
playoff hopes are diminished, along with any chance of a New Year's Six bowl too.
look. The Roadrunners are sitting back saying, "Yeah,
Yep,
Stove. Yeah,
yep,
Stove.
yep.
Yeah, Stove. Let us fucking run the table and get that New Year's Six bowl, right? Like,
Yep.
let us get that, okay?" Yeah, I hesitated a little bit with Cincy and Smoo here. I think SMU can upset them. I certainly think they can. Um, maybe I'm just hoping that Cincinnati doesn't drop a game like this, but I definitely can understand why you would pick SMU for sure. Cincy better be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Better be careful. This is
Yep.
the game you could drop. Michigan, Maryland. Michigan, we've got a 15-point spread here. I'm going to lay the points. I think Michigan's going to put it on Maryland. Give me something like a 38-13 game, 38-17 maybe at the most.
Ooh, I kind of like that. Yeah, I'll go with you on that one.
Nice. All right, Pittsburgh, Virginia. Pittsburgh's laying 2 tutties, 14.5-point favorites. I think they're going to cover 2. I think being at home. If they were going to Charlottesville, I might be a little more hesitant. But I think being at home, Kenny Pickett's gonna get the Panthers going here, and I think they're gonna win by probably 17, maybe 21.
Yep, I agree.
All right. And we've got the Roadrunners as they go up against UAB, probably their best opponent with their remaining schedule here. UAB is going to be the toughest test, and the Vegas line, I think, plays that out. 4.5-point favorites here for the Roadrunners against 7-3 UAB. They are at home, so I will go with the Roadrunners. I think they're going to cover probably by 6 or 7. UAB's tough though, so don't overlook them, UTSA. If you want to get into that New Year's Six bowl, you got to keep your hopes alive.
Yeah. I'm going to go with UTSA, the Roadrunners. I'm actually going to go 10 here.
All right, I like it. All right, we got BYU, Georgia Southern. BYU 20-point favorites. Probably should roll pretty good.
Yeah.
They might cover there, maybe 21, 24 points. I think that's a good number.
Oh yeah. Yep, I'm good with that.
NC State's got Syracuse at home. Syracuse, a little bit of a down year here. They've been competitive in recent seasons, not so much this year. NC State favored by 11.5. I think I'm laying the points. Honestly, I think Wolfpack at home.
Wolfpack at home.
Syracuse a little bit.
Yep.
Baylor, Kansas State. Kansas State is favored against number 11 Baylor by a point. Essentially a pick'em game. When it's that close. I'm going Baylor. I don't think they're gonna get tripped up in Manhattan.
I don't think so either. And truthfully, I think this is gonna be a 10 to 12 point game.
I think so too. Vegas, man, they always seem to outsmart us, but I just don't see it in this one. I don't see it. It's a 1-point spread. That just feels weird.
Yeah, no. Get out of here with
that. Yeah, man, the SEC especially, they got these games late in the season that they're just fucking tune-up games. And the conference like negotiates the schedule, and they figure it out. And like with a couple of weeks left in the season, they leave an open week where teams can play a slapdick team, as Ryan calls them. And they get a little bit of a tune-up. It's a week off. You won't see. I don't know that any SEC teams outside of Alabama and Arkansas. I think there's only one in-conference game this week.
Not many at all.
Not many, if there is more than that. So, actually, Vandy, Ole Miss. There's another one, but yeah, you see Mississippi State, A&M, Georgia, and Alabama played their slapdick team last week. So. It's just something the SEC does late in the season. Other conferences don't really do it. So, all right. Moving on to Oregon, Utah. Ranked matchup here. Number 3, Oregon at number 23, Utah. I love seeing that line because that means
I do too.
Believes that we're going to get vindication. Fuck the CFP. Give me the Utes. Give me the Utes cover by 7.
Yes.
Let's go.
I'm with you. I am with you on this.
Yes. Love it.
Yep.
Love it. I think they're going to do it at home. against an Oregon team that I haven't been buying into Oregon all year.
Nope.
Let's go.
Get out of here. Let's do it. What time is that game?
That's a 6:30.
Oh, that's an ABC game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
We're getting front and center for that one.
Yep.
And we've got the other SEC matchup here, Vanderbilt versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a big old favorite, 36.5. That number's probably close to right.
I'm
going to lay.
Vandy.
I think they're gonna cover, but it's gonna be tight, right? So if you bet this line, you're gonna be sweating it late. 38, maybe 39, Ole Miss to cover here against Vandy.
Yeah, lay the points. Lay it.
It'll be tight. You'll sweat this one out, but I think you're gonna win it. All right, and we finish up the top 25 preview with Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Oklahoma State's a 10-point favorite. Oklahoma State coming off that shellacking of TCU. I think we're going to see something similar here against Tech. Tech can't play defense. They might be able to score some points against Oklahoma State. Probably a little bit of a barn burner.
17, give me 17.
Yeah. I like that. 3 scores, Oklahoma State over Texas Tech. All right, that wraps up our Week 12 preview. We will take a short break for our second sponsor here. You want to do the read-in again?
Oh, for this guy, yeah, why not? Mr. Ryan Trotnick with Excel Constructors out of Overland Park, Kansas. Excel Constructors for all your construction needs.
I'll tell you one thing that fucking commercial does for me is remind me how fucking old I am. It says 30 years, 1991 to 2021. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I was in fucking elementary school in 1991.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, we appreciate Ryan Trotnick and the Excel Constructor boys. Appreciate you supporting the show. But yeah, man, thanks for making me feel old with that with that promo.
Nice. Did not even think about it that way, but thanks for bringing that one up too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, whoop whoop is right. Whoop whoop. All right, now we're gonna move on. We're gonna look at the Heisman stock here, and I've got some corrections.
I would hope so, bud. I hope so.
So no longer do I have Caleb Williams in, and now I've got Kenny Pickett in. He slides in at number 3 for me. I split some hairs with Pickett and Corral, and I think that you having Corral at 3, I definitely can sympathize with that. I was a little tossed up, splitting hairs there, but Bryce Young stays at the top. C.J. Stroud stays at number 2. Caleb Williams is gone, and Kenneth Walker is at number 5 for me this week. I think, with Kenneth Walker, I just feel like this goddamn award is a quarterback award, and I'd love to see him win it, but we see too often it's a quarterback award. I hope he gets to New York City at least.
Yeah, and it is a quarterback award, and it has been that way for quite some time now. Kenneth Walker is still at my top. He's still producing each and every week, even in his loss. He's still producing. He's got 7 games so far this year of 125 plus yards. He's Bryce Young at number 2. You could probably flip-flop those two guys. I really think it's those two right now as the top 2, and it's theirs to lose. Then I got Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral's pretty much been there since day one in at least the top five. Kenny Pickett, he's been in the top five for a few weeks now. If he keeps on producing, he can't have those games like this last week where started off good, then cooled down, and then picked it up there late in the fourth and overtime. I mean, yeah, you want to see that out of your quarterback, where you can count on him late in games and stuff like that, but definitely can't take the foot off the gas, especially in that conference for this year with it being down and everything like that. If you're wanting to win this award, you're having to put some ungodly numbers up there. And he's done it a few games this year, but he needs to do it consistently. And then CJ Stroud, that guy keeps on producing week in, week out as well too. You can easily move him around. Probably anywhere in here. And I don't think you get any complaints except for maybe some Ohio State fans, on where he lands in our top in my top five. But it's one of those where I think if he keeps on doing the things that he's been doing, and having 300 plus yards passing and 4 or 5 tutties each and every week, I think he's just going to jump these guys and win that award. Maybe with the Big Ten championship game if they can get there. So, but I still have I still have Walker the third there, and it might just be because it is a quarterback award to be won. That's how it's been for quite some time. And going with the underdog, you see it with my picks each and every week. I go with the underdog.
That.
So why not here?
There is no shame in that game. No shame.
Ryan, who was the last defensive player to win the Heisman?
Charles Woodson, I believe.
Charles Woodson. Yeah, I think the next closest, I think, was Ndamukong Suh back in 2009.
I think Clowney made it to New York too, didn't he? Maybe not.
I
think he had a lot of hype. I think Suh actually made it to New York. I think you're right.
Suh did make it to New York.
I think Suh was the closest.
And I think he either finished third or fourth in the voting.
Yeah. He was so fucking dominant.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Especially in that Big 12 championship game against Texas and Colt McCoy.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
All right. That wraps up the Heisman Stock Watch for week 12. And we'll move on to 4 in, 4 out. Stove, I'm going to kick it over your way first with your first 4 in, first 4 out.
Really no change here except for the Oklahoma. Oklahoma gets the boot with their loss, so you still have Georgia, Alabama, and at the top. Cincy moves up a spot from number 4 to number 3. Ohio State moves up from 5 to 4, so now they're in the playoffs. They keep on producing each and every week. They have so much talent on that offensive side of the ball with their receivers and CJ Stroud. Sometimes it's just unfair. First 4 out, everyone moves up here, and you finally get Oregon at number 8. Hopefully they will not be there next week. But
let's go, Utes.
Yeah, exactly. But I still have Michigan State over Michigan here. And then at number 6, Michigan. Number 7, Notre Dame. They slide up a little bit, and then you have Oregon there at number 8. Still, we've said it already tonight. It's Georgia against and then you have everyone else. Georgia has just proven week in, week out that they are above everyone else tremendously. You're seeing it each week, and that is why they are number one. And then it's everybody else.
So I've seen the question posed this week, and I want to pose it to you
Yeah.
because you've had Bama higher than me until this week, right? And you challenged me on that rightfully, and I'm going to
Yeah.
explain it in a minute, right?
Yeah.
But you've had them higher than me all along. So
Yeah.
if Bama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship game,
Okay.
is there any way that Bama still gets into the playoff with 2 losses?
How much do they lose by in the championship?
Let's say a field goal.
Okay. Everyone
Let's
else.
say Ohio State
wins out
wins
here?
out, Cincinnati wins out, Notre Dame wins out, and Bama loses by 3 in the SEC title game. Does Bama get in over Notre Dame? A 2-loss Bama team who lost to an unranked at the time Texas A&M team against Notre Dame, whose only loss would be to potentially a playoff team in Cincinnati.
So I'm going to say I'm going to say no. One, you got your Georgia Alabama matchup. Georgia proved to everyone that they're the better team. They beat Alabama. They're not going to go ahead and put Alabama at number 4 and make them play Georgia again. 3 weeks from the SEC championship game. Now, with that being said, I still like to put some, I guess, ranking. Ranking's not the correct word for it, but I like to put some sort of I can't think of it right now. What's that?
Emphasis?
Yes, thank you. Yes, emphasis on a conference championship game. Regardless if you win or lose, if you make it there, okay? Now, there's 2 different types of winning, losing conference championship, okay? In this instance, Alabama makes it there. They lose, but they lose by 3, and it's a last-second field goal, okay? That's a better loss than not making it to a conference championship and
losing pretty handily.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I really don't think that you will see another 2-loss team in the playoffs. It might play a factor though too how A&M finishes up the regular season as well.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. But I'm honestly I'm going to say no. But in my book though, in my opinion, if I were voting, I probably would put them ahead of Notre Dame as the number 4 spot if they did lose by
So
3
you would, but you don't think the committee would?
No.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
What about you?
I think that the committee, honestly, I think the committee is going to find a way for both Notre Dame and Alabama to get in over Cincinnati. I fear that with the most sincerity, honestly. Even if Alabama loses to Georgia, I think that Alabama would fall no further than 3. Notre Dame would get in at 4, and we'd see Alabama versus Ohio State with the committee thinking we're going to get the rematch in the title game of Georgia and Bama. I just fear that with this committee, the disrespect I've seen them give Cincinnati to this point just tells me that they're going to find a way If Alabama loses by 3 to Georgia, I think Bama falls to number 3. Ohio State moves to number 2. Assuming Ohio State wins out, moves to number 2, right? The winner of Ohio State, Michigan. If both of those teams have won out and they clash and Michigan runs the table or Ohio State runs the table, the winner of that game moves to 2 and Bama drops to 3. And I think in the scenario that I have presented, Notre Dame gets number 4. Now, if Oregon wins out, it changes the entire perspective because the committee's got them in and we don't, right? But
so you're having basically a Cincy team.
I do.
Who's
Notre Dame,
who's number 3 right now, and will stay number 3 then if your scenario plays out all the way through the final rankings.
Yeah,
they go undefeated.
I do think so.
And they get pushed out by 2 spots.
I do think so.
They're dropping 2 spots.
I do think so.
Wow.
I just fear that with the committee. Move. I just fear that with the committee. I wouldn't do it, right? I'm not saying this is my rankings, but I do fear that the committee is going to find a way to get those gravy boats in the CFP. Bama, obviously. Notre Dame is so big on like TV. I mean, they have their own fucking TV deal, right? Like the SEC has a TV deal. The ACC has a TV deal. Notre Dame has a TV deal with NBC. That's just, I think that they're going to find a way to get them into the CFP. That's just my fear. Maybe I'm just being cynical because I am naturally cynical. There's no secret about that. I am naturally cynical. I just fear that that's going to happen, man. Unfortunately, I hope not, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to my 4 in, 4 out. And I do have some splaining to do because I've had Bama at number 5 for quite some time. I think both of the previous 2 weeks, Bama at number 5 for me. Oklahoma obviously drops out. Cincy at 4 here. You know, I've had them as high as 3. I think even as high as 2 in previous rankings, but I don't like what I'm seeing from them. The way they've won, they're struggling with teams, and you've picked SMU. You're on the record as picking SMU this week, right?
Yep.
So we may see Cincinnati drop completely out. But Ohio State looks like they are just putting it on people right now, looking like the a playoff contender, looking like the Ohio State team we see round into form here at the end of season. Alabama, I had them at 5, moved them up to 2. I'm starting to align my picks with where I think the committee's going to end up with them. I feel a little dirty doing that because I've been really, kind of sticking to what I feel here, but I'm starting to align with where I think the committee's going to do it. And then I stacked Ohio State versus Alabama. If those 2 teams played 10 games, I'm picking Bama to win probably 8 of them. So I put Bama in at 2 ahead of them. I could have put Ohio State at 2. I flipped, I looked at it as who's the better team there. So I moved Alabama up. So that's a pretty precipitous jump for Alabama. I fully understand that. And you challenged me on it, rightfully so. I just think Bama would beat Ohio State, and I don't like what I've seen from Cincy in the last few weeks. Georgia, head and shoulders above, way ahead of everybody else. My next 4, a little different than yours. I got really wishy-washy with this because I started to look at head-to-heads and I started to look at who they beat.
I didn't notice this until just now, but as much shit as you've been giving Oregon throughout the whole season, you put them ahead of Michigan State, get the fuck out of here too.
I know. Seriously, I deserve that, right? I got real wishy-washy here because I had Notre Dame at 5.
You were waffling.
Waffling. Okay. Yeah, that's what I do, right? I had Notre Dame at 5, and then I started to look at them, stacking them up against Michigan and Oregon and Michigan State, and started to think about Michigan State beat Michigan, but Michigan just had that big win against Penn State, and Michigan State had a bad loss, and Oregon's loss is still bad, and I don't want to put them in the top 8, but I couldn't find another team that I thought really fit the mold to be in here. These are the 8 teams that I think are there right now. I could have probably thrown 6, 7, and 8 against the wall and just picked from there.
Sure.
I don't like Michigan State's loss, though. That, I think, was a big one to me.
But their loss
is better than Oregon's.
Yeah, so explain
you're right.
yourself.
You're right. I don't have an explanation for it. I got wishy-washy with 6, 7, and 8. I kept going back and forth and flipping them, and this is where I landed. I just hope that Utah beats Oregon this week, and I don't have to fucking worry about it anymore.
Exactly. Yep.
So let's take a look at what the College Football Playoff Committee. Oh yeah, KU big win this week.
Hell yeah, that was a great win.
Absolutely.
Horns
down.
Bam.
Yeah, for sure. Big win.
Big
win. So Ryan, I think you're talking about Alabama being a 2-loss team and getting in. If Michigan takes down Ohio State to give an opening. So I think the way I'm reading that, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you think if Michigan's a 1-loss team and Alabama's a 2-loss team, Alabama gets in over Michigan? If I'm reading that correctly, I don't disagree. I think that the committee has an affinity for Ohio State and probably doesn't have the same affinity for Michigan, so that might play out that way, honestly. All right. Yeah. So Ryan, I think that I could agree with you. Michigan just doesn't have the CFP pedigree that we've seen in the last handful of years from Ohio State. All right, let's look at the playoff committee's top 7 here. And the 3 on the outside looking in are at number 5, Cincinnati. Fuck you, CFP, for that. Michigan at number 6. Number 7, Michigan State. Stove, other than Cincinnati, any gripes here with 6 and 7?
I mean, no. And really, I mean, it's the same top 7 as last week. So everyone won last week. So you can't really, I mean, if they would have moved someone, it would have been the Michigan State game, just because of how close that Michigan game was. But it was against a Penn State team who has, they've only lost 3 games this season. They played some good teams and everything. But I think if they would have done that, based off of, that close of a margin, then I think they would have had a lot more explaining to do on why Cincinnati was still ranked.
Yep.
At number 5, Oregon at number 3. I really think that they would have had a lot of explaining to do if they would have done that. So there was no way that they were moving any of the top 7 with them all winning last week.
Yeah, I agree. So rounding out the top 4, we have, in order as they were last week, number 4, Ohio State, number 3, Oregon, number 2, Alabama, and surprise, surprise, Georgia at number 1. As you said, they all won. They all kind of held serve. I think the only suspect win of the week was probably that Michigan win, and Cincinnati, if you look at it on the surface, that's not a terrible win at 17, but that game was a lot closer than 17.
Yeah.
So I think, if the CFP is going to keep them at 5, they're going to keep them at 5. A lot of ho-hum wins for some of the top 3 to 4. Oregon, ran away from Washington State. I was really hoping Mike Leach would show up and save the day, but he didn't. Let's go Utes. Change this fucking narrative so we can get a true top 7 here.
It'd be nice if we just had like a lot of teams upset this week and just all hell breaks loose.
Turmoil in the top 7. That'd be great. It
would be.
All right. That brings us to our conclusion. Stove, another great episode.
It was
love talking shit with you, man.
I
appreciate you soldiering on vacation, trip seeing the family. Please give the family our best.
We'll do. No,
and
appreciate you taking over the reins there, bud, and maneuvering through everything. You've done a nice job these past couple of nights.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Technology, I work in the technology sector, and it still gets me sometimes.
Because you work for the government, bud.
That's true. That's true. Good enough for government work, right? Anyway, for the big stove. Oh yeah, thank you, Amy. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you guys.
We appreciate. I appreciate the kudos, Ryan. Sometimes it feels good to get a pat on the back, right? I do my best. We're trying to hold it down. Stove does such a good job every week, and every time I have to do something along these lines, I appreciate what you do for the show more and more and more. So I appreciate everything you do.
No, anytime.
Anyway, absolutely. Appreciate you soldiering on out there. Enjoy the time with the family. We'll see you next week. Everybody enjoy this weekend slate of games. We are out.